The dining room glowed softly under the chandelier as Benjamin sat at the long wooden table. His wife, Elizabeth, placed a hot plate of rice and chicken before him. The smell filled the air, warm and delicious. Benjamin smiled at her, happy to be home after 2 long weeks away for work. "Thank you, my love," he said warmly. "I've missed your cooking so much." Elizabeth smiled back, but something felt strange about her eyes. They didn't look kind like before. "Eat well, darling. You must be very tired from your trip." Hello family, welcome back. Please take a moment to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. It truly means a lot to us. Don't forget to share it with your friends and loved ones and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story. So sit back and relax as we dive into the story. Just as Benjamin picked up his fork, the kitchen door flew open. Grace, their maid, ran into the room. Her face looked scared and her hands were shaking. "Sir, please," she cried out. "Don't eat that food." Benjamin stopped moving, his fork hanging in the air. Elizabeth's smile disappeared fast. Her face turned angry and mean. "Grace, what rubbish are you saying?" she shouted. "Have you lost your mind?" Grace's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't move away. "Please, sir. Trust me. Don't eat it. I'm begging you." Benjamin looked at his wife, then at the maid. He felt confused and worried. His heart started beating fast. Elizabeth had never looked at anyone with so much hate before. And Grace had always been quiet and respectful. Why would she risk losing her job like this? "Grace, tell me what's wrong," Benjamin said slowly, putting down his fork. His voice was calm, but inside he felt afraid. Before Grace could speak, Elizabeth stepped forward, her voice getting louder. "This girl is crazy. She's trying to destroy our marriage with lies." Grace shook her head fast. "No, madame. I'm only trying to save Sir's life." The room went completely silent. Those words felt like thunder. Save his life? Benjamin's stomach felt tight and sick. He looked at the plate of food with suspicion. Then he looked at his wife. Her teeth were pressed together and her hands were closed into fists. "Elizabeth," Benjamin said quietly, his voice shaking a little. "What is Grace talking about?" Elizabeth's eyes moved toward the door, then back to her husband. For just 1 second, Benjamin saw something new on her face, guilt. But it disappeared quickly, replaced by more anger. "She's lying," Elizabeth screamed. "Fire her right now, Benjamin. She's wicked." But Grace didn't step back. She moved closer, her voice breaking. "Sir, I heard everything. I know what she put in your food. Please just listen to me. Put cameras in the house. You'll see the truth." Benjamin felt like the floor was moving under his feet. His mind was racing. His wife. His beautiful, loving wife? It couldn't be true. But the fear in Grace's eyes told him this was serious. He pushed the plate away slowly. His hands were shaking now. What had his wife done? And why would his maid risk everything to warn him? Benjamin sat frozen in his chair, staring at the plate of food. His mind was spinning with questions. Could his wife really want to hurt him? It seemed impossible. They had been married for 5 years. She always smiled at him, kissed him goodnight, and told him she loved him. But Grace looked so scared and serious. She had worked in their house for 3 years and never caused any trouble. Why would she lie about something so terrible? "Grace," Benjamin said carefully, "if you're making this up, you will go to prison. Do you understand that?" Grace nodded quickly, tears running down her face. "Yes, sir. I understand. But I'm telling the truth. I heard Madam talking on the phone last night. She was planning to." Grace couldn't finish. She started crying harder. Elizabeth laughed, but it sounded cold and mean. "See, she can't even finish her lie. Benjamin, this girl is jealous of what we have. She wants to break us apart." Benjamin's head hurt from thinking. He loved his wife, but something felt very wrong. He made a decision. "Grace, go to your room. Elizabeth, go upstairs. I need to think." Elizabeth's face turned red with anger. "You're actually believing this stupid girl over your own wife?" "I said go upstairs." Benjamin's voice came out louder than he meant. He never shouted at his wife before. Elizabeth stared at him with shock, then with hate. She turned and stomped up the stairs, slamming the bedroom door so hard the walls shook. Grace stood there, still shaking. "Thank you for listening, sir. Please be careful." After Grace left, Benjamin sat alone in the quiet dining room. He looked at the plate of food again. It looked normal. It smelled normal. Maybe Grace was wrong. Maybe she really was crazy. But what if she wasn't? Benjamin pulled out his phone and called his friend Michael, who owned a security company. "Michael, I need cameras installed in my house. Tonight. It's an emergency." "Tonight?" Benjamin, it's already 8 o'clock, Michael said. I'll pay double. Just come now. Please. Michael heard the fear in Benjamin's voice. Okay, my friend. I'm coming. 2 hours later, Michael and his workers finished installing tiny cameras all around the house. They were so small no one would notice them. The cameras could record everything: the kitchen, the living room, the dining room, even the hallways. These cameras will send videos straight to your phone, Michael explained. You can watch everything from anywhere. After Michael left, Benjamin sat on the sofa holding his phone. His hand still shook. Upstairs, he could hear Elizabeth moving around in the bedroom. What was she thinking? Was she innocent and angry? Or was she guilty and planning her next move? Benjamin didn't know if he wanted to see what the cameras would show. But he had to know the truth. He had to know if his own wife was trying to kill him. The next morning, Benjamin pretended everything was normal. He came downstairs wearing his business suit, smiling like nothing had happened. Elizabeth sat at the dining table drinking tea. Her face looked cold and unfriendly. "Good morning, my love," Benjamin said, kissing her forehead. It felt strange, like kissing a stranger. Elizabeth didn't smile back. "Are you going to apologize for yesterday? For believing that foolish maid instead of your wife?" Benjamin swallowed hard. He had to be smart. If Elizabeth was really trying to hurt him, he couldn't let her know he suspected anything. "I'm sorry, darling. I was just confused. Grace scared me with her words. But I know you would never hurt me." Elizabeth's face softened a little. "Of course I wouldn't. I love you, Benjamin. You're my husband." "I know," Benjamin said, even though his heart felt heavy with doubt. "I'm going to the office now. I'll be back for dinner." As he drove away, Benjamin pulled out his phone. The camera app was open. He could see his house on the small screen, the living room, the kitchen, everywhere. His finger hovered over the screen. Part of him didn't want to look. But he had to. At his office, Benjamin couldn't focus on work. He kept checking his phone, watching the cameras. For hours, nothing strange happened. Elizabeth walked around the house, watched television, and talked on the phone. Everything seemed normal. Maybe Grace really was lying. Maybe his wife was innocent after all. But then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Benjamin saw something that made his blood run cold. A man entered his house. Benjamin knew this man. His name was Richard, Benjamin's childhood friend. They had grown up together in the same neighborhood. Benjamin trusted Richard like a brother. Elizabeth rushed to the door when Richard arrived. But she didn't greet him like a friend. She threw her arms around him and kissed him. Not a friendly kiss on the cheek. A long, deep kiss on the lips. Benjamin's phone nearly fell from his shaking hands. His chest felt tight, like he couldn't breathe. His wife was kissing his best friend. In his own house. In front of his cameras. But it got worse. Elizabeth pulled Richard into the living room. They sat close together on the sofa. The same sofa where Benjamin watched movies with his wife every weekend. "Did you bring it?" Elizabeth asked Richard, her voice excited. Richard reached into his pocket and pulled out a small container. "Yes. Ground glass, just like I promised. Mix a little bit into his food every day. It will cut his stomach from the inside. The doctors will think he's just sick. Nobody will ever know." Benjamin felt like his whole world was breaking into pieces. His wife. His best friend. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning to murder him. Elizabeth took the container and smiled. "Once he's dead, we'll have everything. His money, his houses, his cars. We can finally be together without hiding." Richard laughed and pulled her closer. "You're so smart, my love. Benjamin is such a fool. He trusts everyone." Benjamin's vision blurred with tears. But he kept watching. He had to see everything. He had to know the complete truth. What else had they planned? And how long had this been going on? Benjamin sat in his office, feeling like his heart had been ripped from his chest. He watched the video again and again, making sure he wasn't dreaming. But it was real. His wife and his best friend were planning to kill him slowly, to steal everything he owned. He thought about all the times Richard had come to visit. Benjamin had welcomed him with open arms, fed him, given him money when he needed it. And all that time Richard was sleeping with his wife and planning his death. Benjamin wanted to scream. He wanted to drive home right now and confront them both. But then he stopped himself. If he showed them the video now, they might run away. Or they might say the video was fake. He needed a better plan. Grace had been right all along. She had risked everything to save him. And he had almost not believed her. Benjamin wiped his tears and called Grace's phone. She answered quickly, her voice nervous. "Hello, sir? Grace, you were right. About everything. I saw the cameras. I saw what my wife is planning." His voice cracked with pain. Grace gasped. Oh, sir. I'm so sorry. I wanted to be wrong. Thank you for warning me, Benjamin said. You saved my life. But I need your help with something else. I have a plan. That evening, Benjamin came home acting normal. He smiled at Elizabeth and hugged her, even though it made him feel sick inside. I'm home, my love. What's for dinner? Elizabeth smiled sweetly. Your favorite, fried rice and chicken. I made it special for you. Benjamin's stomach turned. He knew what was in that food now. Ground glass. Tiny pieces that would cut him from inside, making him bleed slowly until he died. That sounds wonderful, he said, sitting at the table. Elizabeth brought the plate and set it before him. She watched him closely, waiting for him to eat. Benjamin picked up his fork, his hand steady even though his heart was pounding. But just then, Grace entered the room carrying a glass of water. As she walked past, she pretended to trip. The water spilled all over Benjamin's plate, soaking the food completely. Oh no. I'm so sorry, sir. Grace cried out, looking terrified. I'm so clumsy. Elizabeth's face turned red with anger. You stupid girl. Look what you've done. It's okay, Benjamin said calmly. Accidents happen. Grace, please make me a new plate. And Elizabeth, darling, you look tired. Why don't you go rest? Grace can serve me tonight. Elizabeth looked suspicious, but she couldn't argue without seeming strange. Fine, she said coldly and left the room. In the kitchen, Grace made a fresh plate of food, clean food with no poison. She brought it to Benjamin with shaking hands. Here, sir. This one is safe. Benjamin ate quickly, grateful to have Grace protecting him. But he knew this was only the beginning. Elizabeth would try again tomorrow. And the day after that. He had to be very careful. After dinner, Benjamin went upstairs. Elizabeth was already in bed, pretending to read a book. How was your food? She asked sweetly. Delicious as always, Benjamin lied, climbing into bed beside her. That night, Benjamin couldn't sleep. He lay next to his wife, the woman who had promised to love him forever. The woman who was now trying to kill him for money. He wondered how many times she had already put poison in his food. Had she started before he went on his business trip? His phone buzzed quietly. It was a message from Grace. Sir, I'll protect you. I promise. Benjamin closed his eyes, feeling a small bit of comfort. At least someone in this house still cared if he lived or died. But how long could they keep this up? And when would Elizabeth realize her plan wasn't working? 3 days passed. Benjamin pretended to eat the food Elizabeth made, but Grace always found clever ways to switch the plates. Sometimes she would knock over a glass. Sometimes she would say the food needed more salt and take it back to the kitchen. Each time she replaced the poisoned food with clean food. But Benjamin knew he couldn't just keep avoiding the poison forever. He needed to catch Elizabeth and Richard in the act, with proof so clear that no one could deny it. So he made a new plan. A dangerous plan. On Thursday evening, Benjamin came home early. He walked slowly, holding his stomach. His face looked pale and sweaty. Elizabeth, he called weakly, I don't feel well. Elizabeth rushed to him, her face showing fake concern. But Benjamin saw a tiny smile at the corner of her mouth. Oh no, darling. What's wrong? My stomach hurts so badly, Benjamin groaned, sitting down carefully. It's been hurting for 2 days now. I feel like something is cutting me inside. Elizabeth's eyes lit up with excitement, though she tried to hide it. Maybe you ate something bad. Should I call a doctor? No. I just need to rest, Benjamin said, walking slowly upstairs. He had watched videos online about poison symptoms. He knew exactly how to act. For the next 3 days, Benjamin pretended to get sicker and sicker. He stayed in bed, groaning with fake pain. He barely ate anything, saying his stomach hurt too much. Grace brought him clean soup and bread, but only when Elizabeth wasn't watching. The cameras kept recording everything. On Saturday afternoon, while Benjamin lay in bed pretending to sleep, Richard came to the house again. Benjamin watched through his phone as Elizabeth led him inside. Is it working? Richard asked eagerly, pulling Elizabeth close. Elizabeth nodded, smiling widely. Yes. He's getting weaker every day. His stomach hurts all the time. I think the ground glass is working perfectly. Richard kissed her deeply. How much longer do you think? Maybe 2 more weeks, Elizabeth said. Then he'll be dead and everything will be ours. His bank accounts, his properties, everything. We'll be so rich, Richard. They laughed together, celebrating Benjamin's supposed death. Then Elizabeth said something that made Benjamin's blood boil with anger. You know what's funny? Elizabeth giggled. Last night, Benjamin was lying in bed, groaning with pain. He looked at me and said, Thank God I have you to take care of me. Can you believe it? He still trusts me completely. Richard laughed hard. What a fool. He deserves everything he's getting. He always had everything: money, success, respect. Now it's our turn. Benjamin gripped his phone so tight his knuckles turned white. These people he had loved and trusted were celebrating his death. They felt no guilt, no sadness, nothing. Only greed and selfishness. But Benjamin stayed calm. He kept recording. He needed more evidence. He needed to hear everything. Later that night, Elizabeth came upstairs to check on him. She sat on the edge of the bed, touching his forehead gently. How are you feeling, my love? Benjamin looked at her with weak eyes. Not good. The pain is getting worse. Elizabeth smiled, but this time she didn't hide it well. Don't worry, darling. Soon all your pain will be over. Benjamin's heart broke completely hearing those words. She wasn't talking about healing. She was talking about death. His death. Elizabeth, he whispered weakly, if something happens to me, promise you'll be okay. Promise you'll take care of yourself. Elizabeth squeezed his hand, her eyes cold despite her soft voice. Of course, my love. But nothing will happen. Just rest now. After she left the room, Benjamin opened his phone again. He had everything recorded, the affair, the poison plot, their celebrations, everything. Now he just needed to finish his plan. Tomorrow he would visit his lawyer secretly. He would change his will, move his money to secret accounts, and prepare for the final confrontation. Elizabeth and Richard thought they had won. But they had no idea that Benjamin knew everything. And soon, very soon, they would face justice for their evil plans. Monday morning came with bright sunshine, but Benjamin's heart felt dark and heavy. While Elizabeth thought he was too sick to leave the house, he quietly got dressed and drove to his lawyer's office across town. Mr. Thompson, his lawyer for 10 years, looked shocked when Benjamin walked in. Benjamin, I heard you were very sick. You look terrible. I'm not really sick, Benjamin said, sitting down. But I need your help urgently. My wife is trying to kill me. Mr. Thompson's eyes went wide as Benjamin showed him all the videos. The lawyer watched in silence, his face growing more serious with each second. When the videos finished, he shook his head sadly. This is evil, Benjamin. Pure evil. We must call the police right now. Not yet, Benjamin said. First, I need to protect everything I own. Change my will. Move my money. Make sure Elizabeth and Richard get nothing if something happens to me. They worked quickly. Mr. Thompson prepared new documents. Benjamin signed papers moving his money to secret bank accounts that only he and Mr. Thompson knew about. He changed his will, leaving everything to charity and nothing to Elizabeth. All the real property documents were locked safely in Mr. Thompson's office. At home, Benjamin replaced all his important papers with fake ones. If Elizabeth looked, she would think everything was still in her name. But it was all worthless paper now. Tuesday evening, Benjamin lay in bed, still pretending to be dying. Elizabeth came in with Richard following behind her. They thought Benjamin was sleeping, but he was recording everything on his phone hidden under his pillow. Look at him, Richard whispered, staring at Benjamin. He looks half dead already. Elizabeth leaned close to Benjamin's face. Her voice was cold and cruel. Just die already, you fool. I'm tired of pretending to care about you. I'm tired of waiting. Benjamin's heart shattered hearing those words, but he kept his eyes closed and his breathing steady. Richard pulled Elizabeth away. Come on, let's go downstairs. We need to plan what we'll do after he's gone. They left and Benjamin opened his eyes. Tears rolled down his face. The woman he loved, the woman he had given everything to, wanted him dead. His best friend, the man he trusted like a brother, was helping her. But Benjamin's sadness turned into strength. He would not let them win. Wednesday morning, Benjamin called the police. He called Mr. Thompson. He called witnesses. Then he walked downstairs where Elizabeth was making breakfast, probably with more poison. Elizabeth, Benjamin said strongly, his voice no longer weak. We need to talk. Elizabeth turned around, surprised. Benjamin? You're out of bed? You should be resting. I should be dead, you mean? Benjamin said quietly. That was your plan, wasn't it? Elizabeth's face went pale. What are you talking about? Just then the doorbell rang. Benjamin opened it. Police officers walked inside, followed by Mr. Thompson and several witnesses. Grace stood in the corner, crying with relief. Elizabeth, you're under arrest for attempted murder, the police officer said, putting handcuffs on her wrists. Richard has already been arrested at his house. Elizabeth screamed and cried, begging Benjamin to forgive her. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't do this. I love you. But Benjamin shook his head. You don't know what love means. Real love doesn't poison. Real love doesn't betray. Real love doesn't celebrate someone's death. The police took Elizabeth away. The house fell quiet. Benjamin sat down, exhausted but relieved. Grace came and stood beside him. Thank you, Grace, Benjamin said softly. You saved my life. If you hadn't warned me, I would be dead now. Grace smiled through her tears. You're a good man, sir. You deserve to know the truth. Later, Benjamin learned that Elizabeth and Richard both went to prison for many years. All Benjamin's money and property stayed safe because he had been smart and careful. He rewarded Grace generously, paying for her family's needs and giving her a big promotion. Benjamin never married again, but he learned important lessons. He learned that money can make people greedy and evil. He learned that true loyalty is rare and precious. And he learned that sometimes the people closest to you can be the most dangerous. But he also learned that goodness still exists in the world. Grace had risked everything to save him, expecting nothing in return. That kind of love, honest, brave, and selfless, was worth more than all the money in the world. Benjamin lived the rest of his life surrounded by people who truly cared about him, never forgetting the maid who warned him not to eat the food, and the terrible secret that saved his life. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us keep bringing you more stories. Turn on the bell so you don't miss what's coming next.